We'll start momentarily. Give him one more minute. Jim was here and he just stepped out. He was coming right back. No. There we go. Did I hear Jim out there? Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Pete, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
We're good? Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. If the clerk will call the roll.
Sure. Councilmember Lyons?
Here.
Councilmember San Antonio?
Present.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Hara?
Present.
Mayor Ehlers?
Here.
Record will show all members of the City Council are present tonight.
Okay, this is a special meeting of the Encinitas City Council. We have one item on tonight's meeting, and that is roadway safety and traffic enforcement in the city of Encinitas. And the contact person is Director of Engineering Nutter. With that, we'll start with a staff report.
All right. Well, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Dan Nutter. I'm the Director of Engineering and City Engineer for the city. Along with me this afternoon, I have Matt Wadowski, Assistant Director of Engineering, Abe Bandigan, the City Traffic Engineer, and Shane Watts, who is the Captain of the Sheriff's Office for North Coast. Today, we'll be talking and discussing about roadway safety and traffic enforcement. So we're going to be discussing the 5 E's of traffic safety. We're going to highlight current city programs, projects, and initiatives regarding traffic safety. We're going to show the city's financial commitment to traffic safety, and then we'll conclude with City Council having discussion. So first, I want to get into the 5 E's of traffic safety. Now, the 5 E's of traffic safety are a comprehensive approach to improving roadway safety for everyone. Now, this is a framework that's evolved over time. Starting in the 1920s, this was actually the 3 E's of traffic safety. So over the years, we've evolved a bit, and now it's industry standard that we have these 5 E's. Is that a little better? Am I not talking in the mic? I apologize. Well, thank you guys. So the 5 E's of traffic safety are comprised of engineering, education, enforcement, encouragement, and evaluation. Now, really do want to make it clear that these 5 E's, this is really a community comprehensive approach. So it's not just the city, it's also really engaging the public as well. So engineering is designing and maintaining roadway infrastructure to reduce risks and protect all road users. Education is teaching people safe behaviors and building awareness for all road users. Enforcement is promoting safe behaviors and deterring dangerous choices through fair and consistent enforcement. Encouragement is creating a culture that supports and reinforces positive, safe choices, and evaluation is making data-based decisions to analyze risks and implement countermeasures to continuously improve our programs and projects. So engineering, safer streets by design. So the city has over 45 current and in-progress projects, programs, and initiatives regarding engineering and infrastructure. Don't have all day to talk about all of them. I wish I did, but this is only a 2-hour meeting, so I'm going to just highlight some of the more important of the bunch. All right, is that any better? Okay, I'm trying not to eat the microphone. So the first of which is our citywide lowering of speed limits. That's per AB 43 and AB 382. So we did our first cut at lowering speed limits in 2022, and back in May of this year, council approved for staff to lower roadway speeds on 13 different roadways. And this is really something that I wanted to be clear is creating real results. Our traffic engineering team completed a traffic speed survey back in the summer of 2025, and that showed that we've lowered speeds across the city an average 2.2 miles per hour. So really, that's showing that we are doing the right things, we're going in the right direction, great results. We have an initiative where we are red curbing within school zones. per the state's daylighting law to make sure that pedestrians, specifically students and parents, there are more visibility for
Recording in progress.
perfect. Okay. For more visibility for those students and parents as they're walking through crosswalks. We're enhancing visibility at pedestrian crossings. We're improving bicycle and pedestrian facilities. We're optimizing traffic signal performance, and we are initiating an adaptive signal timing pilot program. Those two last ones, the traffic signal related items, are really important for our corridors to help reduce queuing. That helps reduce the number of crashes, red light running, things of that nature. We have a Safe Routes to School program. Every year, our traffic engineering team works with the various school districts, and we come up with important pedestrian and bicycle improvements. This is a snippet of some of the improvements that we've done with our fiscal year 26 program that ended just a couple months back. On the top left, we have a new signalized crosswalk along El Camino Real, that's at Crest Street. Bottom left is a new rectangular rapid flashing beacon at Requesa, and then on the right is a new RRFB at Vulcan and Glaucus. Not only do we care about having safe crossings for pedestrian and bicyclists along all of our roadways, but we also care about having safe crossings along the railroad tracks. We have 3 distinct projects with 6 pedestrian and bicycle crossings that are in progress right now with the city. Now, some really great news, if you have not heard, the city was actually awarded a $33.6 million grant by the Federal Railroad Administration. We heard about a week and a half ago. That's going to help make these 3 projects a reality. 2 of the renderings that you see here, those are related to our Leucadia at-grade crossing projects. So again, really important safety infrastructure improvements. We've been installing pedestrian refuge islands. So you're seeing more of these across the city. This really helps break long crossings into smaller, more manageable segments. This here is on Highway 101 at A Street. We recently installed a new refuge island on Leucadia Boulevard at Hygeia. We have a new one planned for Saxony at the YMCA. And then we also have one planned per council direction at Village Parkway at Parkdale Lane. We're installing rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or RRFBs. You're seeing these around town. This would be something that we'd be installing at uncontrolled intersections to help provide a higher visibility for our pedestrians that are crossing the roadway. It's also an active measure to improve driver awareness for pedestrian activity. And one of the really important aspects here is it's a cost-effective solution that we can deploy very quickly. Leading pedestrian interval, or LPI. That's a recent project that we've installed at nearly all of our signalized intersections, and what that does is that allows pedestrians to start crossing in the crosswalk before vehicles are able to go. And that really helps reduce conflicts between pedestrians and vehicles. We're improving visibility with our signal upgrades. So over the last couple months, you've likely seen our initiative where we are starting to install high visibility reflective traffic signal backplates on our traffic signals. So this really helps reduce red light running and certain types of intersection crashes. As an example, this is Highway 101 at Leucadia Boulevard. You see the before on the left and the after on the right, and you see Leucadia Roadside Park in the background. Really a nice heightened ability for us to show our traffic signals. Okay, on to E number 2, education. We're reaching residents, students, and visitors. The Sheriff's Office does a Know Your Limits campaign to help educate limits of intoxication for drivers. They go out to the community a couple times a year. Really, really great event. I've been out before, and it helps individuals that are out on the town understand what that level of intoxication truly feels like. We have bicycle education and safety courses. So our Parks and Rec department, twice a month, they offer a 2-hour bicycle skills and education safety course. This is always packed. It's a great event. Highly recommend you attend it if you have not, especially if you have younger bike riders. And then we do e-bike safety training and public outreach. So on August 4th, we had a joint city and sheriff e-bike safety workshop. And on August 19th, City Council held an e-bike safety public meeting. Okay, on to E number 3, enforcement. We are deterring dangerous behaviors. In fiscal year 26, City Council funded 2 new traffic enforcement deputies. The Sheriff's Office does monthly traffic blitzes with targeted enforcement. They do e-bike enforcement, including seizures of e-bikes. And want to make a special note that City Council is going to hold a public meeting to discuss and explore the applicability of red light camera detection per SB 720 on September 9th of this year. Now with that, I'm going to hand it over to Captain Watts to talk a little bit more about enforcement.
Thank you, Dan. Captain Watts with the Sheriff's Office out of the North Coastal Station. You know, where I fit in this conversation, I think is very important. And, you know, enforcement in itself is obviously important, and we have done more. We have really maximized our resources. We have looked at how we can really change driver behavior with maximizing enforcement. But for me, more of the conversation, you know, education plays a huge piece in this as well, and that's why we have done a lot of education. One of the slides I'll show here in a second, you know, it captures how we've maximized our enforcement, how we are doing more out on our roadways to change driver behavior. But what it doesn't capture is the countless contacts that we have with the community that you know, results in a warning, or it's a chance for education. It's a chance to have that communication. And you know, I do believe that yes, enforcement is necessary, but a lot of times the person that leaves with a warning comes away with just as much as somebody that leaves with a ticket. So I think it's appropriate that we balance that, and we make sure that, for one, that we are doing that enforcement, we are maximizing it, but when there is room for education, that we give some education. Another part of that I think is equally important is the community and working with our community partners to address some of these concerned areas on our roadways that need more focused enforcement, or just need us to go out there and see what the community's seeing. I mean, recently we went out on a bike ride, and we actually rode with community members. We rode around the city, and we looked at areas from their perspective on where we could do more enforcement, and even other areas that we can improve as a whole with the city. So working with our community and bringing them in has been such a reward, working with Safe Streets and hearing the ideas. And our MTS commission has been wonderful. They have really been a huge help. But I think that is important, is really engaging with the community, doing the enforcement, and also that education. And I will say, you know, as a whole, as we go into the slides, I think that whole circle approach is where and how we have gotten to where we are now. So next slide, please. So if you look, once again, I have always said that I am always looking to maximize our resources. I'm always looking for those deputy-initiated activities, those proactive contacts to improve. So improving off of 2025, you can see that we are continuing to improve this year. We are ahead of where we were last year, and we continue that upward trend. And this is the momentum that we continue to strive for and build upon. But, you know, it's only meaningful if the results are meaningful. And so when I look at, okay, we are maximizing our enforcement, but the real goal is to change driver behavior so that our roadways are safer. So next slide, please. So that's when this comes, you know, I constantly am looking at this to see monthly where we are as far as collisions throughout the city. And as you can see, we have less collisions this year so far than we did last year. Those are the results of everything I mentioned before and with the enforcement. But I really think, and I'm optimistic, to think that we are changing that driver behavior. People are slowing down with some of the measures that we've done with the city, some of the infrastructure change. I think people are paying more attention. They're not on their cell phones like they were. They're not speeding as much as they were. We're really putting that message out to stop at stop signs, stop at red lights. It's not worth running a red light or a stop sign, putting everybody else on the roadway in danger. So I am happy with where we are. I think that, the summertime, we get so many people that come into our city to enjoy our beaches and our establishments. And that's when traditionally we have seen a rise in collisions. But I really think that because the word has gotten out, we've placed even our digital signs as you come into our community to let people know to slow down. We're paying attention. There's more of us out there, and we are doing more enforcement. So I'm happy with where we are. There's still room for improvement. We will continue to improve. Next slide. This was one of the areas that when I was looking at our DUIs, I wanted, and we, I think, needed at the time, and when we presented it to the city and to the council and mayor, that we really needed that extra enforcement for our DUIs. And when we were able to add those 2 DUI deputies that are solely out there looking to take these impaired drivers off our roadways to make them safer, we saw our arrests go up. But we also started to see that there were more ride shares at some of our establishments at the end of the night, which is a positive thing. That's what we want. We want people to make those smart decisions, not get in their car while they're intoxicated. And that's where the Know Your Limits, I think that was huge. We went out there with the community, and there was so many people that came up to our booth as an educational piece, and they blew in our breathalyzer, and they were astonished that they were over the legal limit. And many of them said, I thought I probably was okay to drive. And they made smarter choices that night, and it's that ripple effect that we're looking for. So we've done it twice. We'll continue to do those. And getting ahead of those DUIs is so important, because if we can take them off the roadway before a collision, before they crash into our infrastructure, then we are all safer. And that is the commitment that I make. That's the commitment that our deputies are out there making. Next slide. And then once again, when we look at the results, yes, we're doing more enforcement, but what does that look like? And what it looks like is we're having less DUI collisions. So our infrastructure is not being constantly hit. Our roundabouts are being navigated appropriately. And we're not seeing those collisions as a result of impaired driving. So I think that, as long as we keep those, and we continue to focus on, yes, the enforcement, but we should see some positive results as well. And I think we are seeing that. I think I am happy on the road that we are going. Like I said, there's always room for improvement. And I have committed many times that will be my commitment, is that we are consistently and constantly looking for outside of the box ideas. The traffic safety monthly enforcement, that's something that now has gotten to other cities. I've had phone calls from other cities. I've had phone calls from other station captains asking, like, what are you guys doing over there? Tell me more about these enforcement days, because it's not often that a captain and lieutenants and all the sergeants and your detectives are all in uniform in a patrol car out making stops. And I'm out there making stops, and I'm talking to the community. But that's important because it takes all of us to make those changes. So I'm proud of the efforts that we have made, and we will continue to push forward. Roadway safety will be my priority. Vision Zero, I do not want to lose one life on our roadways. And so anything and everything that I can do to prevent that and to educate our drivers, our bicyclists, our e-bicyclists, I'm going to continue to do that. And working with our with the Traffic and Mobility Commission, you know, when I started really looking at the information that we were providing them, it wasn't what it needed to be. If we truly want to give them the tools to look at some of these areas or make some change, then we have to provide them with the information that they need to do that. And you know, well, that's how we've always done it. That's not good enough. If we can make it better, we'll make it better. And I was so happy and appreciative to be able to sit down with some of the commissioners to really make this report something that was tangible and something that they could act upon. And we have gotten it to a point where I really think there's a lot there. Next slide, please. One of the examples is we are now showing, as the year progresses, what are traffic accidents, where they're occurring, and you can start to see on the map where our, you know, problematic or concerns are, and we need to start looking at those areas to see, is it an enforcement issue? Do we need to do more enforcement? Is it a result of infrastructure? What is that? And I think that by providing them with this information, it's giving us that perspective and allowing us to start focusing in where we can make some positive change. Next slide. Same with our DUI enforcement. This is one of the things that we started doing to show where these DUI arrests are occurring. And what wasn't captured in the previous slide that showed the total amount is a lot of these DUIs, they either are, by the time that we get behind them, we observed the impaired driving and we are ready to make that traffic stop. They've either exited our city, so the contact happens in another jurisdiction, or they have gone onto the freeway, the on-ramp, so that when we actually do make that arrest, it doesn't count in our statistics, it counts in the city of the arrest. So there's actually more than what is being shown, but I think it's interesting to see where these arrests are occurring. And I think with that, I'll turn it back over.
Okay. E number 4, encouragement, where we are developing positive habits. So here at the city, we have a culture built around safety where we are encouraging residents to consistently practice and promote safe transportation habits daily. We have our school crossing guard program. This is a 50-50 cost share between the city and the school districts, and it's a cost-effective and safe program that helps keep our kids and parents safe while they're walking to and from school. City Council added a 15th crossing guard for fiscal year 27, so really an awesome and important program for us here at the city and the community. You've likely seen our changeable message signs deployed throughout the city. This was a city council initiated request by the deputy mayor, and it's really been a great tool where we are able to give awareness and behavior feedback immediately, and that helps disrupt and interrupt routine driving habits. So that way, the hope and thought is while you're driving along, you are seeing some of these signs and creating good habits regularly. Our speed radar feedback signs. So these are wonderful to help give you an immediate idea of what your speed is. I know you're not always looking at your speedometer, so these speed radar feedback signs do a great job of giving you that immediate feedback that really hopes to encourage drivers to slow down when needed. And E number 5 is evaluation, where we are making data-driven decisions. So Encinitas uses data analysis to direct resources in the appropriate location to increase roadway safety. An example of this is our local roadway safety plan, or LRSP. The LRSP has analyzed collision patterns and prioritized evidence-based countermeasures like leading pedestrian interval and speed management to enhance safety. So that is a document that we have compiled that has been approved by council, and it has projects that are based on priority that the city is currently moving forward with implementing. I also wanted to touch base and speak briefly on our draft Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. So our Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, or CSAP, that is a document that similarly is data-driven. And on that, we do have to make an update to the circulation element, which is currently underway, that includes the safe system approach. Once our circulation element is finalized, we will move forward with that draft CSAP to finalize the CSAP, but did want to make clear that even though this is supposed to be a comprehensive safety action plan, it's actually not comprehensive. It only discusses Encinitas Boulevard and El Camino Real, so that is another adjustment that we need to look at, potentially for the finalization of our CSAP. But the real important thing here is not the document or whether it's in draft or final form, is the reality that we've already as a city implemented 40 of the near-term projects. So whether it's been finalized or not, we still utilize that document to determine important projects to move forward on. Here's an example of our LRSP. On the left is a little bit of a heat map. That's collision-based information. And then on the right, that is one of the tables within the document that gives you an analyzed determination of, based on cost, of what our most or highest intersection collision area and prioritization would be. Now, even though there are a lot of great things that we've been talking about, what's the city really committed to these? So the financial commitment has been extraordinary. When I started putting these numbers together, I was really actually amazed by all the money that we are putting towards the 5 E's. So over the last 2 fiscal years, our expenditures plus the estimated expenditures for this fiscal year are over $60 million. So that's $1.6 million for the 2 new traffic deputies. That's over $560,000 for our school crossing guard program, $58 million for roadway safety infrastructure improvements, $160,000 for bike safety education. So it's not just talk here at the city. Really, it is a huge investment and extremely important to us. So ultimately, to conclude, the city has an integrated safety program. We utilize the 5 E's framework. We have a sustained investment, and we have a community collaborative approach to roadway safety and traffic enforcement.
Thank you. So, first of all, any questions of clarification from City Council? If not, we'll go to public. How many
We have
speakers?
20 speakers.
20. So, we want to do public input tonight, so we're going to do the full 3 minutes, and that's going to take us an hour. Hopefully, people can be prompt. If you could, the next up and the next up, if you can move to the front row, just keep it moving quickly. We want to get through this in an hour, so we have time to discuss up here too. So with that,
First 3 speakers, Paul Trester, followed by Patty Stottlemyre, and then Ron Medek.
Hello. Hello. I had submitted 2 visual aids. First one, that's the second one, but the first one that I presented, I had submitted on the 14th to the engineering department. The second one was I wrote to the author of an article which was in the Encinitas Advocate on the 7th of August after she wrote an article about the deaths of children over the last couple of
so
years.
let's hold the time for a minute here. Do we have both? And you do? Okay. Just wanted to check. Okay, go ahead.
And the first one If I could go to the other one first. Okay, has to do, this is the one I had submitted to the engineer department. The crosswalk, which is a equestrian pedestrian crosswalk on El Camino del Norte, where there was fatality a month ago. The problem there, and I've been walking and running this area, jogging this area for over 40 years, is that during the summer, when the sun comes up from the east, right down the road, it is blinding to cars headed eastward. And around 5, 6, 7 o'clock this time of year, it's blinding to those going westward. And that was involved in that accident where the driver didn't see the person. And so what while they have blinking lights at the crosswalk, since cars are speeding like 40, 50 miles an hour, it would be better to have another one that blinks 300 feet to the east on the west, right at the end of the Escondido Creek Bridge, and also one on the on the eastbound, west of the crossing at the rise. There is a diamond sign there that says trail crossing ahead, but the drivers in those cars cannot see that crosswalk until 7 seconds before they get to that crosswalk. The drivers going the other direction, going westbound, it's 4 to 5 seconds from the time they get to the end of the bridge, but they can't really see that blinking light because there's bushes that have overgrown and block it. So those are short periods of time for somebody who's looking into the bright sunshine. And that's for probably at least a couple months of the year. So by putting, when the person pushes a button to cross the crosswalk, if those blink 300-400 feet prior, I think speeding drivers would have a better chance of being alerted and slowing down. So that's involves that one. The second.
Yep,
Did I-
sorry. 3 minutes goes by quickly.
Oh, okay. Well,
So,
second
well,
one.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you have to. We have to limit it to 3. So, we have the written version you gave us.
Patty?
Okay, Mayor, Council, Road Safety. I'd like to thank you, the staff, the Mobility and Traffic Commission, and the council for all you have done in the last 2 years to improve road safety for all modes of mobility. Oh, here's the clicker. And I do believe you're willing to continue with these efforts and more. Some in our community are saying efforts are not being made to ensure safety and are advocating for a complete adaptation of the Vision Zero program, citing success with this program in Hoboken, New Jersey. 9 years with no fatalities. Now, I looked on the Vision Zero website, and it looks like much of what they're doing you've already done. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it. Now, Hoboken, New Jersey, population 60,000 in a 1.2 square mile area. Encinitas, population 60,000, 20 square miles. So Hoboken, let's see where it is. It's like a stone's throw across the Hudson River from midtown Manhattan. And that dark blue line there is like their mobile transport, like a subway going over. According to Brave AI, 75% of residents in Hoboken, New Jersey do not own a car, attributed to the city's high walkability, public transport, and parking difficulties. And 80% of the commuters travel to work without a personal vehicle. So they're not really like Encinitas. But is Vision Zero foolproof of zero fatalities for 2 consecutive years or more in all cities it is implemented in? According to ChatGPT, cities with 2 consecutive years of zero fatalities, well, they didn't have any other than Hoboken. New Jersey City had 1, Alexandria 1 0 year, Alameda 1, San Francisco, San Jose, Fremont, Los Angeles, New York, none. So thank you, City of Encinitas, for all you have done and will continue to do for improving our road safety for all in Encinitas.
Martin, I have a couple of things that have come up, right?
Do you want to work with them, and we'll go to the next one, and
Yeah,
we'll
let somebody
insert
else
you in
go
later?
first, Martin.
So,
Next 3 speakers, Peter Tobias, followed by Johnny Durbin, and then John Eldon.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Tobias. I've lived at 564 Arden Drive, just east of here, about 3 blocks since 1980. I strongly believe that we do not have enough traffic enforcement. Whether that means more deputies or more electronic enforcement, we need it. I don't know whether the 2 new traffic enforcement, I don't know where the 2 new traffic enforcement deputies mentioned in today's paper work, but I have not seen them or virtually any deputies in my part of Encinitas. Let's talk about speed limits. As you know, the city lowered many speed limits a year or 2 ago, but without enforcement of those limits, all they do is teach people that there are no consequences to speeding. Where do people speed? In my neighborhood, they speed on Requesa between Westlake and the freeway. The speed limit there is 20 miles an hour, but even the kids on their e-bikes break that record. If I try to observe it, the traffic behind me honks their horns. Earlier this afternoon, I was driving west on La Costa between El Camino Real and the freeway. I was passed by a car going just under 70 miles an hour. I know that because briefly I matched his speed and checked my speedometer. Another place they speed is on the Coast Highway coming north out of Solana Beach. The 30-minute mile-per-hour speed limit there is routinely flouted, despite informational signs that we saw earlier. Let's talk about red lights. Most of the problems I've seen are at the Ramble crossings at D and E streets on 101 downtown, because I spend a lot of time in that part of the city. A few weeks ago, I was trying to back out of the single parking space in front of Mauricio's Italian restaurant. A truck horn blared as I was backing up, and when I looked to see what was going on, the truck sped through the Ramble crossing as the light turned red. At that same intersection of D and 101, 2 weeks ago, I started to cross going west just after the red lights came on, and a truck came out of D Street headed east and turned left right in front of me. When I tried to signal the driver to stop, he certainly saw me well enough because he gave me the finger. We haven't talked about stop signs. I haven't talked about stop signs. If you want to see how people use stop signs in this city, go up here 100 yards to the corner of Cornish and D Street by the dog park across from the library. As I was walking down here, I saw 4 cars go through that stop sign without stopping. 3 of them slowed slightly, and 1 of them simply sped through. Now, I imagine that these things happen all over town, and we certainly need deputies and hopefully more to enforce the laws. We need
Thank
speed
you.
cameras.
yeah. So, yeah, well, if I do it for you, I have to do it. Peter, I got to cut you off. I'm sorry. Yeah, we get the message, and we understand.
Good evening. My name is Johnny Durbin, and I'm an Encinitas resident. I'd like to talk to you today about Vision Zero. From coast to coast, more than 100 towns and cities have embraced Vision Zero or aspects of it. Places like Columbus, Ohio, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where traffic injuries have dropped sharply. We see it in mid-sized towns like our neighbors in Vista, Tigard, Oregon, and Hoboken, New Jersey, which we've already heard about, with 9 consecutive years without a single traffic fatality. From massive hubs like New York, Los Angeles, and Austin to suburban communities like Deerfield, Florida, and Oak Park, Illinois, this is an incredibly diverse list of cities with the same commitment. Safe streets are not a political issue, but a shared American priority. Leaders in communities across the United States are treating road design as a core principle of their duty to ensure public safety. Vision Zero operates on the core principle that humans naturally make mistakes. And to account for these mistakes, physical road environments should be designed to absorb these mistakes without them resulting in death or severe injury. Vision Zero does this by leveraging physics, engineering, and common sense. It prioritizes roundabouts, fixing crosswalks, and utilizing smart technology to manage speed and red light running. Towns across our country are making meaningful changes to reduce and possibly eliminate traffic deaths, and Encinitas can too. The future of American infrastructure is one that stops treating traffic deaths as inevitable and starts treating them as preventable. Protecting our neighborhoods is our collective responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Eldon, and following John Eldon will be Ron Medak, and then Mike Jabransky.
Hi, John Eldon. Just real quick, I want to give credit where credit is due. We've had some resurfacing, Encinitas Boulevard, Leucadia Boulevard, and restriping along with Opportunistic, and the results are damn near perfect. So that's been excellent. As far as Vision Zero, it sounds like we're already doing a lot of that, as was mentioned earlier. So I think that's great. The other one I want to mention, I think you'll hear it from Ron too, is that on Vulcan, for instance, the crosswalk at Orpheus is raised. And so we have a slow as well as, then you can also have the flashers and the rest of it. And yeah, that might be worth exploring. I know we have to balance with what the fire department needs. I get that, right? The first responders have legitimate arguments as far as traffic calming and road design. But if we can work with them, get them happy, and at the same time slow down traffic in general, I think we're way ahead. And then finally, there are places, I'm not 100% against bollards, because for instance, at both ends of Sunset Drive, we've squared the intersections, which are otherwise diverges and merges, and I think that's been helpful on calming traffic at those two. So anyway, thanks a lot, and keep up good work.
Ron Medak, Liebenhain. I want to begin by thanking Mr. Nutter for a very good presentation detailing everything the city's been working on. And although a lot has been done, I think there is much that needs to be done to improve traffic safety in Encinitas for many reasons, among them the forced build-out throughout San Diego County. There's definitely an increase in traffic through our town, and with it, an increase in irresponsible driving. There are a number of roads that lend themselves to this dangerous behavior, and among them is El Camino del Norte. And I know it well. I bicycle it every week, and I still didn't realize it was a speed corridor. A few days after the crash that took Finn Faddick's life, my son and I went to the trail crossing and tape measured with a 50-foot tape measure what appears to be the physical evidence. And we did not have, thank you, without, admittedly we did not have access to the vehicle in order to be able to verify that the fresh black skid marks came from the Nissan Z, and we didn't have the electronic data recorder the Sheriff's Investigation Committee team does. And if one just looks at the skid marks alone, 71 feet, it's clear this was the conditions that this driver saw as he went up the road 100 yards from that crossing. It's very clear that he was well in excess of what was the safe speed, which was less, I'm sure, than the 35 miles an hour that was posted. Unfortunately, there's a subset of drivers that are incorrigible and dangerous to all of us, and we can't stop them alone by trying to stop their behavior. We need to actually physically slow those vehicles. And I think a committee should be formed to use traffic devices that slow vehicles on the roads that are found to be the prime roads, and begin with those. We can look at the whole city, but we begin with the most dangerous. The devices used would be such as speed cushions, raised crosswalks, raised intersections, speed tables, rumble strips, roundabouts, as well as all other manner of devices. We have people here that are perfectly capable of doing that, and I suggested at committee in my public comment, and it would include close first responders. That would be Chief Gordon and Captain Watts. The second thing is, unfortunately, we have some infrastructure that's been put in place, which is also dangerous. It's cost 2 lives of cyclists unnecessarily, which is a scandal. It's also caused multiple injuries, especially on the South Beach area. We have a committee now formed on the MTSC with John Eldon and myself, and we're looking forward to cooperation and support from the City Council in that subcommittee to evaluate with the purpose of removing dangerous and unnecessary bollards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks for that. I'd like to start by thanking the council for hosting this. It's great to see the turnout. Clearly, a lot of people are caring about street safety, which is awesome. And to put it on a special meeting, I appreciate it. You guys spend a lot of time working and coming and staying up late, and I appreciate it. Also, thank you for the staff for the report and all the hard work. I think we can all agree that staff has been fantastic. And it requires us to hold some of this nuance in our minds as we think through the current situation, because we can have an amazing staff, a strong council, a wonderful sheriff, be working on really important projects, spending tons of money doing it, and still not getting the result that we want. We've had 17 fatalities since 2016 for pedestrians and cyclists. That's a lot. So it's going to take some leadership to admit that even though we're working hard, that there's a gap between where we are now and where we want to be. And we need to figure out how to bridge that gap. Our community, Safe Streets Encinitas, came together after Emery's death last year. It really hit Parkdale Lane hard. We've watched John and Bridget go through what they've had to go through, and we've just seen so much pain across the community. Our advocacy has always been about stopping fatalities on the streets, and it continues to be. The Hoboken case study is actually just about process. It's not about what they did. This goes into the 5th E evaluation, I guess, is going to be my request. How do we draw a direct line from the risks that are causing the fatalities to the projects that we're spending money on and make sure that we're getting the results that we need? We've already had multiple people come up here and talk about what happened on El Camino del Norte. The community needs a place after fatality to show up and speak about what they're feeling, what they've seen, share ideas, and we need to address it. There's been 6 fatalities since Brody got hit. It's just been 3 years. I haven't seen a single one of those locations reviewed publicly. We might be doing some of this already, and that's the request for more transparency around the 5th E. If we're doing some of this, let's please make it public. I think there's a home for it at MTSC, maybe somewhere else. I don't care if we call it Vision Zero. I don't care if we take inspiration from Hoboken, or we just don't want to see any more kids get run over in crosswalks. So the request is that we have some kind of fatality review. Let the community come together. Let's get our crack staff working on it. I think we can do this, you guys. Thank you.
Next three speakers, Laura Russell, followed by Travis Newhouse, and then Chris Giles.
Hi, I'm Laura Russell, and I want to thank the previous speakers, especially Ron Medak, who's always been a good...
If you could address us. Yeah,
Like
thank you.
this?
Helps. That way we can hear you.
But that was a somewhat heroic testimony, and I want to thank him for it.
Very good.
I'm Laura Russell. I live at the intersection of Windmill Ranch Road and El Camino del Norte. And I think it bears repeating what we're actually talking about today, and that is pedestrian fatalities. 6 weeks ago, on July 10th, I was sitting in my family room, and with apologies to any family or friends of the deceased who may be here, I heard a thud. I heard a screech of tires. I heard voices yelling. By the time I got my shoes on and myself down to right where the accident took place, a 17-year-old girl had been pronounced dead in one of the enhanced crosswalks that people in our area take as maybe a suggestion. They never stop there. So I think one of my main concerns is, despite some modest tributes that friends and family have left for that teenage girl at the site of the accident, there is no other acknowledgement that that teenage girl died there. Drivers can drive by with no knowledge that someone just died there. So my request is that, to dovetail on the previous speaker, we need more public acknowledgement of these fatalities. Someone lost their beautiful teenage daughter. And I think the drivers who are using our corridor to commute from Escondido to the coast and back every day at high speeds, I need to borrow Bruce's speed gun if I can. I think the speed limit there is 35. People are going 40, 50, 60. I stopped at the sheriff's office just before the meeting tonight. They're always so nice and helpful. But they wanted to know, well, when do you want us to conduct a speed trap there? Because that's one of my solutions. And I said, practically 24/7. We hear, as we're sleeping at night, we hear people racing. During commute hours, people are racing. And frankly, I'm not picky. I'll take stop signs, I'll take speed bumps, whatever you're willing to give us. We need physical impediments to speeders on that road, and I do thank you for all of your work on that issue.
Hello, I'm Travis Newhouse, resident of District 2 and member of Encinitas Bike Walk. I just want to start, say thank you to City Council and staff for the new bike racks at Swami's. The upgrade from the old wave-style rack has more capacity and much more room for bikes with surf racks, so thank you. Now on the topic of safe streets. I moved to Encinitas in 2011 because I found a neighborhood where my kids could walk and bike to school. And back then, few bikes were on the road, adults or kids. Parents that I knew at school told me they didn't feel safe letting their kids ride, and that's why I got involved with Encinitas Bike Walk. This morning, I rode past Ocean Knoll and Oak Crest on the way to the barber. I saw dozens of families on cargo bikes, kids riding their own bikes, and even more students walking. When my own kids were young, I only saw those numbers when we organized a bike and walk to school day. I was very happy to see the improvement. And that tells you something. Demand for safe streets isn't hypothetical. It's already here every morning. And I appreciate what I've seen in the city do in the 15 years that I've lived here, but I think we can do more. When I hear people talking about e-bikes as a problem, I cringe. I see it as an opportunity. Every person on a bike or e-bike is one less car on our streets. We should be encouraging that transportation choice by providing safe streets that give people of all ages the freedom to get around while cutting traffic for everyone. Council members O'Hara and Schaefer, you have talked about routing bikes and pedestrians onto calmer, safer streets. I love that idea. And I'm asking the city to build a comprehensive calm street network connecting our neighborhoods to the places we want to go so that we can get there safely. Lowering the speed limits is a good first step that we've tried, but I still see drivers speeding on streets in my neighborhood like Gardena, Melba, and Nardo Road. Signs alone are not enough. We need physical infrastructure. We need streets to be built to keep speeds low. There are great examples in Cardiff on Rubenstein Avenue and Summit Avenue where they have chicanes that slow down the speed of cars. More of that is necessary in Encinitas. Safer streets are an opportunity to give people transportation choices, to prevent deaths and injuries, and to make every neighborhood in Encinitas better. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Giles, District 2, and a member of Encinitas Bike Walk. I want to start off thanking all of you and city staff for all the work that's been done, because there has been a lot of stuff done. During the oral communications at the last Mobility Traffic Safety Commission meeting, a woman who lives in the neighborhood west of the 5 near Riqueza expressed her concern that increased traffic on Encinitas Boulevard was leading to more motorists using Riqueza and surrounding neighborhood streets as a cut-through to cross the freeway. She was visibly frustrated by the number of motorists and how fast they're driving. These neighborhoods are where people live, children play, and people walk their dogs. And these are quiet city streets that should not be used as expressways for motorist convenience. Riqueza is one of the 2 routes where people walking or biking can cross the freeway without conflicting with motorists entering or exiting the 5. It is a key route for kids riding their bikes between several schools downtown and the surrounding neighborhoods. Unfortunately, I commonly see motorists driving 35 to 40 miles an hour across the narrow freeway bridge where kids share the lane. Crest and Melva are a primary connection for kids traveling between East Encinitas and schools, the park, and the community center. Yet both of these streets force kids on bikes to share the same road with motorists who often drive above the speed limit. This next part might sound like it was rehearsed because it's kind of the same thing that Travis just said. Councilmember Schaefer, you have on numerous occasions said that a solution to our motorist-cyclist conflicts is for cyclists to avoid arterial streets and residential streets. Honestly, I agree with you. I personally ride my bike for utility and transportation all over Encinitas on a daily basis. I primarily ride on residential streets because it's safer, quieter, and simply more enjoyable to ride. But when we're trying to encourage cyclists of all ages and abilities to ride on residential streets, it doesn't just mean pushing them onto side streets and then problem solved. Mixing a young child or an older cyclist riding at 12 miles an hour with an impatient motorist who's driving 30 miles an hour trying to get across town quickly means more conflict and more collisions. For your idea to be successful, and I do believe that it can be, those residential streets need to be designated as slow streets. This means 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, actual infrastructure that physically slows motorist traffic, such as speed cushions, increased enforcement, and possibly speed cameras. Let's build a network of slow streets all over Encinitas that give riding bikes or walking the freedom to move around town safely. And let's start with the residential corridor from Crest to the east to the library and downtown to the west. Thank you.
Next 3 speakers, Judy Burlfine, followed by Connie Leslie, and then Dennis Caden.
Hi, I'm Judy Burlfine, and I'm also a member of Encinitas Bike Walk. So thank you to the staff for putting together a great presentation, which I'm guessing was maybe on fairly short notice. The 2 previous speakers discussed a neighborhood network, something that we can all agree on. But we must recognize that no matter how great that neighborhood network is, one must cross a major street to get anywhere in this city. I can't go to Pawlecki School without crossing Encinitas Boulevard and Vulcan, unless I'm willing to go way out of my way. I can't go to my weight trainer's house in Spyglass without crossing El Camino Real. And when I was at Fox Point Farms and I'd driven there and parked on the other side of Leucadia Boulevard, there were 3 cars ready to hit me as I crossed Leucadia Boulevard as they turned right or turned left. So intersections are major hazards. They're one of the 4 focus areas of the Safe Streets group. They're high on the list of the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, and they are high on the list of Encinitas Bike Walk. So how can we improve the safety of our intersections? Many of the measures we have installed around the city can help. Refuge islands, bulb outs, LPIs, pedestrian scrambles, speed radar signs, bicycle signals, and quick build roundabouts. But before we take any action, we need a method of evaluating the measures we've installed. And I learned today about some of the evaluations you've done already. I'd love to know if there are more that we don't know about. The real question is, how do speeds go down if we post lower speed limits? So you said 2.2 miles. I think if we change street design, we can bring them down to what we're actually posting. Do people stop at RRFBs, and what are the actual speeds on roads with RRFBs, not just the posted speeds? Do LPIs provide enough protection, or do we need pedestrian scrambles or no turns when the walk button is activated? Because the 3 seconds that I get with the LPI gets me right in the middle of the intersection where they can hit me from all directions. Do flashing yellow light signals help or only confuse drivers? There's a lot of work to be done. We have a plan with the CSAP. We have the Modal Alternatives Project. I hope we can be a little more methodical and less arbitrary in our approach. And lastly, I request the next traffic engineer that we hire, have it be someone who knows about active transportation and rides a bike. Thank you.
I'm Connie Leslie, and I live at 1892 Forestdale Drive. And I'm here in reference to the speeding cars on South Willow Spring Road from Ciro Avenue down to Encinitas Boulevard. I do want to commend the Sheriff's Office. They did an enormous effort to track speeding cars last spring, and there were a lot of people who were very unhappy about the tickets that they received. I even have a sticker on my speed dial that reminds me to drop down to 20 miles an hour, but people forget. And I did speak with 2 of the officers who were on the corner of Orwell Avenue and Willow Spring where they had set up their stops, and I asked them why were they set up on Orwell, because that was a flat surface and cars coming in could actually see the police officers on the corner of the road. And I said, the real problem is over on Fairley Avenue and down on Valleydale Drive where the road curves and cars are speeding up and cars are speeding going down. And the officer said it was too dangerous to set up a stop there. So I think that speaks for itself. So I'm here, and I know the problem is just going to get a lot worse once the Goodson project goes online. So, and that may be as many as 300 more cars. So I would like to see, and I know that the emergency department does not want speed tables or speed bumps. They make over 200 drive-throughs every year through that road. Many of them come to my community because we're an elderly community, so I don't want them to stop coming. But there are other ways to deal with this, and I would even consider stop signs at Forestdale and at Valleydale. I'd consider speed tables, just anything temporary for a while. And then there's just not enough signage. There's a sign saying 20 miles an hour when you turn on from Encinitas Boulevard. And then there's another sign very close to Ciro. But once you see that sign, you forget, or maybe you don't even see it, and they just plow right through. So I would also like to see something with a very large 20-mile-an-hour painted on the hillside, coming up that hill and going down that hill, so people understand that. So, thank you.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Dennis Caden in District 1. I want to take the time to praise Encinitas here. I did some comparisons on Hoboken. We already heard it's a 1.3 square miles. We're at 19.9 square miles. Hoboken is called a mile square city. They have 28,000 units, housing units. We have basically 24,000. Of the 28,000, I found it interesting, they have less than 400 single-family detached homes. So we have just the opposite. And we got lots of neighborhoods with people driving through and stuff, and that's what makes it such a special place. The population per square mile is 45,000. It's the number 4th densely populated city in America. We're 3,100 square miles. Persons per household, 2.02 versus our 2.54. And I noticed they have persons over 65. We have almost 20% of our population loves living here so much that they don't need to get out of a big city. And the number of streets is 48 versus our 956. That's a lot of streets to try to prevent accidents and things. And I do believe most of the accidents that we've had right now, as egregious as they are, they were driver neglect, and that makes it even worse. We're doing plenty like Vision Zero here, and I'm proud of what the council has done. We have something in Encinitas Hoboken will never have. On our circulation element, and John Eldon and I worked on it when we first incorporated, we have trails. We have trails that have never been prioritized on our circulation element. Every time we have a high-density housing element that there's a trail to go through, the trail gets ignored. And I think it's time maybe we could utilize the trails to get bicycles off the main arterials, because they're all going to go to the same place. Everybody wants to get to the beach. So could we please look into that? Thank you very much. I love our trails. I love our city. Thank you.
Next 3 speakers, Karen Koenig, followed by Fabian Ganell, and then Laura Grimmer.
Hi, I'm Karen Caden. I'm in District 1. I'm the better half of Dennis. I want to thank you guys for the paving Lucchetti Boulevard. I'm on there at least 6 times a day. I also help improve the Encinitas Safe Walk to Capri from Urania and throughout Carter Street, an area to protect our children from windy roads, and it has been working. And I know you guys are going to be working on that too in your program. I want to thank you, Council, for time having a special meeting today. I also thank the Sheriff's Department. I was thinking about what other people were saying regards to problems in their neighborhood and other places they've seen. I think, more notification of traffic risks, to the Sheriff's Department, or maybe they can have another department to pick up what problems are in the city of Encinitas that can refer to the sheriffs. I want to share, I was standing at a stop sign near Capri School, and a lot of people were going through the stop sign, and then one day a sheriff showed up and stood next to me, and every time they saw the sheriff, they slammed on their brakes. So I was thinking about maybe having a cardboard sheriff and stand there with it. Okay. So as a community, we should show support our council and city staff on safe choices. I totally respect the city's framework of the 5 E's, engineering. My favorite is education, enforcement, engagement and valuation, inform the sheriffs for, better results. I want to thanks for adding safer improvements for our school zones, more crossing guards, safe rail crossings, improved visibility for pedestrian crossing, and lowering speed limits near schools. I want to thank you so kindly for all your work.
Last year at this time, Councilmember Lyons proposed a resolution. The operative part was so simple that I can read it out. Quote, "It is resolved that the City of Encinitas acknowledges longstanding community support for traffic calming, ratifies continued city support for traffic calming in Encinitas, and will continue to strive to improve and support traffic calming and traffic calming policies in Encinitas." She moved to approve, and it didn't even get a vote. Not one of the rest of you would second the motion. One of you was just vehemently opposed. You chose to interpret this general pro-calming language as an attack on one or more of your pet projects. One of you tried to have it both ways. You said you wouldn't oppose the motion, you didn't support it either. One of you had nothing to say on the issue at all, pretty remarkable considering a child had just died. One of you at least engaged constructively with the problem. Councilmember Schaefer proposed a citywide traffic study to identify specific problems. He tried to move agendizing it for a future meeting. The chair asked that he hold the motion, but then the council never got back to it after the original motion failed. I looked for any other mention of Councilmember Schaefer's ideas at future meeting, and I found a statement a few weeks later that he was discussing it with staff, but nothing else. No such study is listed in tonight's staff report. Everyone talks about safety, especially after a tragedy, but actions matter more than words. When you put safety projects with planned road diets on your list of accomplishments, but the record shows you took out the road diets when you approved them, your actions don't match your words. When there's a good idea for a traffic study, but it can't even get agendized, your actions don't match your words. And when you task the MTSC with reporting on ways to, quote, eliminate or minimize traffic deaths, unquote, and the MTSC year-end report includes no specific action under that work item, and then they take it out of the next year's work items, your actions aren't matching your words. It's past time for real action to slow traffic and actually improve safety. We're spending $15 million a year or $15 million over the past 3 years to repave roads. Great. Repaved roads do not actually slow traffic. If anything, to the contrary. How about things that actually slow traffic and actually improve safety? I hope we hear something about that tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Ehlers, City Council. My name is Lara Grimmer. I'm a founding member of Safe Streets Encinitas. First, a big thank you to the Sheriff's Department. Your presence in our community is impactful, and based on the data you've shared, it appears that things are moving in the right direction. We recognize the enormous responsibility you're carrying right now, and we're encouraged that the council will be discussing red light cameras on September 9th. Additional tools can provide much needed support, and importantly, help keep our deputies safer. In the meantime, thank you for continuing this difficult work. And another big thank you to staff. Your report was informative, and we appreciate the transparency in both the process and execution. We would love to ask to see more regular reports to continue to increase transparency and accountability. We hear what you're saying, and we appreciate the progress that is being made. And we ask that you all hear us too. We know the city has projects underway, but we need to ask an important question. Are these projects addressing the places and conditions where fatalities are occurring? Repaving a road is important maintenance, but by itself is not a safety strategy. If we have an opportunity to improve safety as part of a project, we should take it. Every project that moves forward without a meaningful safety review may be a missed opportunity to prevent the next serious crash or the next fatality. We all know the number of vehicles on our roads is continuing to grow rapidly. We need to get ahead of that growth. We need to identify risks and act on them before another family experiences the unimaginable loss of a loved one, or before another child is involved in a life-changing crash. We've heard calls to return teaching kids to stop, look, and listen. Well, I ask you, let's stop blaming the kids. Let's look at the infrastructure, look at the intersections, look at the conditions that may be contributing to these crashes. And most importantly, and I thank you for tonight, listen to the people who live here and use these roads every day. We don't have to agree on everything, but we do need to respect one another and work together to do what is right for our city. The solutions we develop need to be effective across all viewpoints. They need to be maintained across changes in city leadership, and ultimately need to make our streets safer for everyone. I'm running out of time, so I will just say, as we've heard, our kids are being struck and killed in crosswalks. This is unacceptable. We're asking, can the city temporarily shift some priorities and resources towards the areas where the greatest safety concerns exist? Thank you.
Final four speakers, Ellen Burr, followed by Dave Dean, then Sheila Cameron, and then Caitlin Despain.
That was about the same distance as a crosswalk that I just walked down here. I don't use a cane yet or a walker yet, but that's pretty fast. And I just want to make sure that we are double checking our, I don't know whether it's pedestrian leading intervals or leading pedestrian intervals, should be easy to do to make sure that they are as long as possible. Because people, 40% of our city probably is under the 5 or under, or over the age of 60, plus a number who are handicapped. Not everybody rides a bike, Judy. I wish I could. So I think we need to focus more on pedestrians and make sure that the crosswalks and the bike lanes are safe. So that means if it's going to be paved next week, don't do it now. But there shouldn't be any cracks, any divots, any potholes, anything that a bike tire is going to hit or an old person or a young person is going to stumble over. Just, we could do some really easy things, I think, that might make a difference. And I don't want to be crucified again for stop, look, and listen, but I do think we need to emphasize awareness on every level. And I can write a check for something to be produced if you want me to. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Council, Mayor, staff, good evening. Dave Dean. First, I'd like to start off by thanking the staff. Last Wednesday when I spoke at City Council about a dangerous sign on B and 3rd, by 9 o'clock the next morning, it was removed and the crosswalk was safe. So thank you for listening. Thank you for responding. Next thing I'd like to suggest is a safety sign down on Coast Highway, similar to one they have in Del Mar, saying bicycle enforcement zone. In the last 2 days, I've watched over 10 bicyclists going down Coast Highway running red lights. Exceptionally dangerous. 2 days in a row, multiple red lights run. Final suggestion, let's up our game and go with making Encinitas the safest city in America. If speed kills, lower the speed limit. I'm in favor of a maximum speed limit of 25 miles an hour in the entire city. If it takes 10 minutes longer to get across the city and saves a life, whose 10 minutes is more important than saving a life? Let's make it safe. Let's lower the speed limits. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sheila Cameron. A few years ago, at a national park, 3 young people died after having been swept over a waterfall. Although plenty of signs were already posted nearby, don't go near the water, etc., they went in anyway. When the ranger was interviewed by concerned citizens, his reply, "One thing I've learned after over 30 years here in the park is that you can't protect people from themselves. We can believe and demand the other fix things for us, the other in this case being our city government. However, maybe what we should be doing is standing in front of the mirror and asking ourselves some questions. Do we sometimes tend to drive too fast? Drive 10 to 20 miles or more over the speed limit? Have you pulled out from a right-hand turn when we see cars coming, but pull out anyway? Do we approach a yellow traffic light and instead of slowing to a stop, gun the gas and push right through? Just saw that 2 days ago. Even when the light is red. This city government cannot protect us from ourselves. It is not their responsibility. We are humans and individuals. We've been given an abundance of rules and physical installations to protect our health and safety and the safety of others when we're driving. What happens when we get into these 2,000 or 3,000 pound automobiles, our cocoons? They're killing machines. While in our cars, do we have a sense of entitlement only for ourselves? Where and how did we learn to drive? Was something missing in our training? A moral compass, perhaps? Do we pass on bad habits and indifference for safety and rules of the road to our children? So now where our children are on motorbikes and e-bikes, a convenience for parents, another concern and fearful distraction for motorists. Children are young, too precious, too uninformed. Are the stats for accidents a generational phenomenon? They are. And I've put here, I've had 3 accidents the last 6 years, not my fault, 18, 25, 26-year-olds. And the last guy said to me, well, I saw you coming, but I pulled out because I thought I had more time. So I'm asking you, is time the culprit? Are we too much in a hurry, too stressed, running late, trying to do too much? If we think and slow down, can we save us from ourselves? That's a start. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Despain. I am a local parent to a elementary and middle school student, and we bought a home here 12 years ago, strictly in the neighborhood that we knew we could walk our kids to, and I still enjoy doing that every day. One of the things that concerns me and why I've gotten the courage to speak here tonight is that I'm really concerned about the speed of our drivers in the community throughout. I travel up and down El Camino Real multiple times a day, driving my kids around to their activities. And if I'm driving the posted 30, 35 mile per hour speed limit, cars are whizzing around me, frustrated at me that I'm going so slow. So I don't think that posting a lower speed limit will change drivers' behavior. I think we need to hear more as a community what the plans are to do more than that. I do think that we need to know more about how you are going to save our children's lives and make the city safe for them. And I need to know, how can we make not losing another life a top priority here? Thank you for your time.
That concludes speakers on this item.
Okay, we've got 30 minutes left, so just keep that in mind. We got 5 of us to get in here on the discussion. I punched in first. I actually heard a lot of new ideas, good ideas. Maybe not new ideas, but heard them again, I guess is the best way to put it. Is there one thing, I always like to ask the rhetorical question, is there one thing we can do that can perfectly fix all the roads? No. It's doing a lot of things is what we have to do, and I think that's what we have been doing. Do roadway modifications make roads perfectly safe? Unfortunately, no. It all comes back to driver behavior as a component here. Roadway construction is important, or design is important, but we ultimately have to change all of our driver behaviors. We all have to drive at the speed limit or under. I find myself driving 5 miles under now, and I'm very conscious about it. And I hope more people will do that. And we actually have seen the data, and I won't go recap that. So if you could bring up the slide about how much money we've spent on enforcement versus roadway. Because if you go look at some of the bikeway improvements we've done, $4 million a mile, roughly. That's what it's costing. Yeah, look at the left there. By the way, I went back and checked before we put it in the budget, I don't know, 2 years ago, to add the 2 deputies. I went back and looked, 15 years. We had not added a single traffic deputy. 15 years. And it may have gone back further. I think I ran out of data. So we were flat. And so we added the 2. I, quite frankly, out of what's been happening and still not seeing enough reduction in speed, even though we've seen some, I'm going to propose in the next budget that we add 2 more. And I think we need to all consider that, and we may even do that before the next budget and do it at mid-year. So, but it's important. You know, it takes a while to get them on board, but you can see the cost. It's the first year is just under $1 million. And that's because you got to get a car for each one of them, and then it goes down to about $700,000 a year ongoing for 2. And why 2? That covers both shifts, right? Quick question for Captain Watts. How many traffic deputies do we have as a whole? What is adding 2 is what kind of percentage increase in our enforcement?
So currently, we staff 4 motors, so 4 on the motorcycles. And then after adding those 2 DUI cars, which also do enforcement, speed enforcement and other enforcement, we are at 7 cars.
So it's a significant increase, and 2 more would be a very significant. So that's one proposal. I just want to make sure we're looking at how much money we have spent on roadway safety versus what we're spending on additional traffic deputies. School crossing guards, I think, is a really good use of money too. And bicycle safety, they all pale in comparison to what we spent on infrastructure, but infrastructure will protect that half mile, that quarter mile, that mile, whatever we do. But even then, we've had accidents at Cardiff, the cycle trail, what do you call it, bike trail. Yeah, we've had accidents, deaths there. We had another death on 2020 on Leucadia Boulevard at an improved separated bike lane. They're not a panacea for perfect safety. It's all going to come down to driver behavior ultimately. So we really need to change that. And every opportunity I have, I call on everyone, slow down, even if you're going slightly slower. And yes, I have people behind me honking too, but you know, we got to do it. So that's one point. Second item that I would propose to this council is, I want to go back through the history first. We adopted, this council, not this council, but a council adopted Vision Zero back in 2019, or it was proposed. We adopted it in 2021. So we do have a Vision Zero plan. It is there. Out of that came the local roadway safety plan, which was written in February of 2022. And if you haven't read it, I would recommend it. It's very good. It's very analytical. It's a data-driven document. And then out of that came what's that? Oh, what is it? CSAP. I can never remember the what's the
Comprehensive Safety Action
Safety
Plan.
Action Plan, which is actually less, if you read it, it's actually less quantitative and a little less data analytics. It's a little more policy driven. What I would propose is that we bring that back in the not too distant future and re-agendize it, because I think the only person that was on council at the time was Councilmember Lyons. The rest of us are new after this. And so I'd like to have us re-agendize and review those two, similar to what we did in the case of flooding when we brought back the Q3 report a couple of years ago. It's a chance for this council to buy in and make modifications to that very same plan, and then potentially direct updating it, which I think is one of the recurring themes I hear is we want better data, more appropriate data. Quite frankly, I look at that, and both the CSAP and the LRSP both basically look at what problems or where most of the crashes and fatalities and serious injuries are coming from. Guess what? They're coming from speeding, distracted driving, running stop signs, running stoplights, and drunken driving. That's in both of those reports if you go back and read them tonight. And so I think we've done a lot of the work. We just need to maybe familiarize not only ourselves, but probably the public. So I would propose that we agendize that at a future meeting, hopefully October, maybe, it depends on where it'll fit in, but sooner better. And then I think I will yield at that point because I had one last point. And I'm going to quote Fabian Gunnell, because you said actions matter more than words. That is so true. When I went back and I looked at the emergency declaration, and we could declare an emergency. What happened the last time? I was on the council when we declared an emergency, and quite frankly, I didn't know it had expired, but I learned that later. All the response was, what additional powers does the council get from declaring an emergency? And it's really almost none. What that council did back then, with me on it, is we put up the flashing road signs, right, with the messaging signs. We printed a whole bunch of signs, yard signs that went out. But everything else, all the actions, as Fabian would call it, those all came out of council action that's long-term and that we've been working on and building on the local road safety plan, building on the CSAP, building on all the work that staff's been doing, building on the work that the sheriff's captain has done to increase enforcement and change driver behavior. So I don't know that words and declarations are the most important thing here tonight. I think, as Fabian said, actions. Actions, very particular actions. Let's continue building better roads, safer roads where appropriate. Let's continue the enforcement. Let's add to the enforcement. And there were some great ideas. The cutout of the sheriff is kind of similar to having the car, an unmanned car parked there too. And by the way, I've seen that and watched that, and people jam on their brakes at the stop sign when they come up to a corner and see a police car. So I don't know if we buy a bunch of used cars, paint them black and white and put them out there, but there are ideas like that. But my bottom line here, what we're doing is not one action, it's a complete breadth of actions. There are many, and I think you heard tonight that that's what we've been doing, we will continue to do. As the council changes over this next year, I hope future councils will continue that. So with that, I'll yield. Councilman Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. I do believe that this is obviously very important to all of Encinitas. And when we look at the different models, and I'm just going to go through the list I've written kind of in order. The RFBs, I think that they're great. I think that they need a lead time for the driver because it's a push and activate it immediately. When you activate it, I think there's a false confidence at sometimes where people feel like they can walk like a normal stoplight where all the cars have the yellow, they have time to slow down, and then a red to come to that stop. On a number of occasions, I've seen myself in Cardiff and also in Leucadia, people push the button and walk, and it's a false confidence, and I don't want to keep creating a false confidence. I want stuff that actually works. So if there's a way to do that, I know that I've talked about this before, in a country that supposedly is lesser than us has a countdown on their yellow lights, the yellow on the light signal. I'm not sure that's something that we could look into, but having the one time that you can know the timing of the light is when the crosswalk is counting down and you see the light go yellow. You know how much more time there is, and it gives you that confidence. And now the driver from a distance, especially with the speeds of the vehicles, the distance you can be from a light, let's say South El Camino Real, down there by the college, you could be going at the 55 miles an hour and that light changes, whatever the timing is. So you have cars driving at a greater speed at different times. I think Fabian brought up, the actions. I would say the slow is important. I think that separate is better. So I think that, Judy Brofine brought up the idea of the intersections that you do have to cross, the major thoroughfares. That would be help for us to have these separate mobility locations that are safer streets. But when we do have the points of crossing that are most used, that we can hammer those locations for enforcement. I think that's a comprehensive approach to start separating as much as possible bikes and cars. There are going to be locations where they are going to meet up, but in those locations we hammer down on again Ballure and Encinitas Boulevard. It's been talked about. There's schools there. It's a lot of issues. I actually had a good friend, older brother, get hit there. Thankfully lived, but was 8 months in the hospital. So that's back in the mid 80s. So this is not something new to this city. I think the traffic blitzes have been working. I think we're at the point with the omnipresence that the sheriff represents, and the reason that the omnipresence works is that you see a sheriff on this street and 2 streets over, you're not going to speed because you just saw a sheriff. You're not sure you're going to see one again around the corner. So something along the lines of maybe announcing the traffic blitzes. I think people have been hammered enough now where if we announce the traffic blitzes, it might actually get the value that we want before people even get on the road that morning. They may leave earlier. So whether you do it that morning or not, just announcing it might be enough to change the behavior. And we're doing it enough where the person may or may not know that it's happening that morning, and it might give them the value to just, and if you put it the night before or something like that, and it starts to change that behavior a little bit over time, week after week, it starts to make that change. I do believe that the static displays, using the volunteer sheriff light, just seeing the black and white, it automatically creates that change. So in areas where it might be too dangerous, where I forget who it was that spoke about it. It was this young lady over here. Laura? No, it wasn't Laura. Connie, yeah. So the idea is to have maybe to be able to put some static displays out in the locations where it just slows down the traffic before we have the problem. Again, I know we want to hammer people, we want to give them tickets, but really we want to save lives. So if it's only about tickets, then we may not be saving the lives if we don't just get the behavior to change over the course of time. And then I have talked about this there are parts of the world, got to spend some time in Australia last year for a number of weeks, and the fact is they use roundabouts significantly better than we do. I think in this city, because of our the freeway that goes through town and the railroad track that goes through town, it changes our lights so significantly that we can't get to the consistent mobility of our traffic. And so we want to have a better lighting system. We want to have a better flow for the thoroughfare so people don't leave the thoroughfares that go through residential streets where kids and bicyclists and pedestrians should be using those roads on a more regular basis. Again, I'm not telling people to not go on Encinitas Boulevard, but it has its natural issues. So if we were going to do roundabouts, instead of doing one here, one there, a grant here or there, have a comprehensive plan of what it would look like. Do we need 20? Do we need 50? Do we need 100 in this town to actually make the traffic flow at a rate that actually gets us from point A to point B consistent with the availability of less direct, blunt crashes, which we've shown in videos here before, that the roundabouts lower the fatalities because of the angle of the accident. It's an off-kilter. It's not in the direct T-bone or head-on collision model. So if we're going to do something of that nature, instead of just having 1, 2, or 3, one here, one there, what would it look like to have a comprehensive roundabout plan in this city? And then something I don't think people are talking about enough, but with what the onset of the Waymos and some of these rideshare programs in the bigger cities, Uber started in DC, started in LA, in San Francisco, and now it's all over the entire world. So it's only a matter of time that we see rideshare and the transportation as a service coming our way, and seeing what that might look like as at a greater capacity of what it would, how long it looks like until we might have 20%, 30% unmanned vehicles, driving and taking people to point A to point B. Seeing what that does for the safety overall, with regards to the sensors and the ability for those vehicles to drive the exact speed limit, not going over. There's no human error in that remodel. Obviously, the technology has to be there, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to have an onset of what that looks like in this city, and if that's something that we want to head towards as those become more available. Thank you. I rest.
Okay, and Councilmember Lyons.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the public for being here. I really feel like this opportunity for everyone to speak was really valuable, and I appreciated all your comments. Thank you. I always learn a lot, and thank you for putting the effort into coming. So I do want to start by saying I appreciate my colleagues' comments so far. I will make it 3 so far that are really, I'm really in support of some of the things they've already suggested. And so what I wanted to do is to first just say that I share the community's concern about the safety of our children. And I feel where my through line is on roadway safety has to do with our children. And we're in the position where we can lead as the governing body. And I do want to see us take some action at this juncture. Right now, also, staff is bringing this forward to us to say, oh, these are the things we've done, and we're hearing from the public saying these are the things we'd like you to do. So we're at a juncture where we can give staff some clear direction. So I do want to leave this meeting with giving staff some clear direction on where I would like to see us move forward, and also to complement what my colleagues are already saying here from the dais. I feel like our sheriff has done a really, really good job. Kudos to Captain Watts. I'd like him and his team to continue to do a great job and be as well funded as we need. And I look forward to future discussion on that. If more funding is valuable and how it will be used, I will be open to supporting it. But I do want to make sure I give a shout out on that. What I would like us to do here now then is to do as well as he's doing. And that has to do more with what action are we going to take to have our roadways be safer, not just the enforcement. I want to start by saying I was at the MTS Commission meeting on August 10th, where a lot of the community came forward to talk about their concerns for roadway safety, and the commission was also talking about their work plan. So it was really good to hear the community concerns. One of my friends, Bill Shen, said something that I think is really poignant, and that is vehicle drivers go the speed the road invites them to go. And I noted that at the time, and I thought, well, that's really another one of my guiding principles. When the roadway allows a driver to go fast, they will be invited to go fast. And so I will place a lot of my emphasis more on our roadway design and what we can do to make our pedestrians and our bicycles safer. I also support the fact we've done a lot of research on this already. We already have a couple data-driven documents. The local road safety plan is the one that was approved in 2022, and it has some really outstanding data. I'll just call to a few things and then suggest that we might consider these as we go forward, looking at what we do to make our pedestrian and bicyclists safer on the roadway, and thus make everyone safer on the roadway. For example, in this data-driven document, they have safety measures, or what they call countermeasures, and they recommend these projects, specific projects for funding. For example, they articulate signal timing. This document articulates dilemma zones. Dilemma zones are where there's a lot of an intersection where there's a lot happening. They articulate bike boxes. They articulate bike markings. And maybe the one I want to land on is they outline pedestrian crossings with enhancements, the safety measures associated with pedestrian crossings at intersections or wherever pedestrians are crossing. And the projects that are articulated in this document that at that time were suggested to move forward as the highest priority locations only cost $292,000. So I wanted to show that as an example of if we really focus on where get staff to come back as we're talking about, looking at this document. Maybe we don't need a full update that's going to take 9 months, but maybe what we do is look at this document, identify where those top priorities are, and then challenge ourselves to find the funding right away. Sometimes it might just be signal timing. Sometimes it might just be the advanced timing on the pedestrian activated lights. Let's find that lowest hanging fruit and let's go for it right away. Let's take action. And so I would be in support of focusing on these pedestrian crossings at intersections, and I'd be happy to consider additional funding and how we can move these forward as soon as possible. I'll rest.
Okay, Councilmember San Antonio.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Captain Watts, for the excellent report. Thank you for what you guys do for the city. Obviously, the numbers show that you guys are doing wonderful work for the city. Dan, great job on getting this report together. I know that's a lot of work, and I believe that we are doing a lot. Can we be doing more? Of course, that is what we're here for. We're here to continue the work. We're here to continue to build on what we've done now into the future. I think everyone here in this room is here for the same thing. Fewer injuries. I believe in Vision Zero. I think it's possible. I truly, in my heart, that's the goal. That's where we want to shoot for. So we want to shoot for that goal. So I don't brush Vision Zero off. I think it's an important goal. I think it's something we should be shooting for. Is no road deaths. My kids are 3 and 5. My 5-year-old thinks he's a teenager now. He wants more and more rope to go down the hill, to go over here, to go. And I live off El Camino del Norte, so my sister lives on Cole Ranch and Lone Jack. So that doesn't seem that far when we walk over there, but I know it's just a matter of time. He already went too far. Sorry to go on a tangent here, but he already went too far, and we let that leash out a little bit too much. He went someplace he wasn't supposed to be. So that alone, for me, that's like one of those things that's like, oh, a tense moment. Like, that could easily happen. And that's what makes that, I think it was a gentleman brought up, our first, Paul, that signalized light coming up when you push the button that it's actually ahead of that that RFB. Great idea. I mean, I thought that was a wonderful idea because you're right. People drive. When I leave our neighborhood and I drive down that road, people do. I go down that road pretty quick. I actually saw one of my neighbors with Bruce's speed gun at the corner clocking people when I left my neighborhood one day. And he stopped me. He was like, "Marco, look what I'm doing." So everybody here, I know we're all here for the same reason. I'm not here to say I'm right, you're wrong. I'm here because I want to continue the work that we are here talking about. I think when I think about what's happening right now, I love hearing the community come forward with your ideas and the evaluation. Mike, I always love talking to you. You have a lot of great input, and I love the passion you bring. So I always welcome those talks. I love talking to Laura. I can sit here and name off people. I went on a bike ride with another concerned citizen And very spry, took me from San Diego up and over the hill, up to Requesa. I think she was trying to actually kill me because the amount of time she took me over this hill was insurmountable for me. But I did it, and I lived. But I did see, from her point of view and from the biker's point of view, what these roads do look like, and it makes sense to me. Along with what Deputy Mayor O'Hara and Councilmember Schaefer bring up, these safer routes off the main roads, that's exactly what I think when I talked about with our concerned citizen, our concerned biker, that it made so much sense to me when I actually wrote it, that there are issues here that we can fix. And I'll take that with me just from that first person point of view. Let's see here. Again, I'm not trying to say we're doing everything possible, but the amount of things that we've listed off here, it's quite a bit. And I look at the 4 priorities of safe streets: speeding, intersections, DUIs, distracted driving. I know we've listed all of these things on here of all the things we've done to mitigate these things or help them or try to fix them. And again, we've done a lot. There's more to be done. And I think that's where I keep going back to, is I know that it keeps coming back to, you're not doing enough or we need to do more, but our work is never done here. We could probably stop talking about this, get something passed and stop talking about it, but something else will happen, or we'll need to continue this conversation always. So let's see. I know red light cameras is coming up. I know this is a very kind of hot button topic. For me, I am in support. I'll say it right now. It's campaign season. This might kill me, but what it does for me is it's helpful for the residents. I want to see at least, if this is a pilot program, let's see what it does, because it is going to make a difference, and we'll see if it does. If it doesn't, it was here before, it's gone now. I've talked to you guys, Safe Streets, enough about it, and I believe in it. So let's just at least let's take a real look at it. I think again, I'll just say this also as well. So I know we're short on time. I would support additional traffic deputies. I know that the behavior, when I see a cop, I know I don't drive fast, but I mean, I want to lead by example, so I try to slow myself down in my van. Even when I'm going downhill on Requesa, I can just not press on the gas. I'm already speeding. So I try to lead by example, because just like Bruce, I don't want to be the one going, hey, that was a mayor driving by, or that was a council member driving by. He just sped right by me. So I'll rest there, but I really do think this, it feels like it's this, I don't feel that. What I feel is like you guys are giving us what we need to hear, and that maybe that bit of abrasion or whatnot, with the way, however you want to word it, gives us the impetus to be like, all right, like we got to do more. So I'll rest.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor O'Hara.
Great. I want to thank everybody for their input today. Thank the public for showing up today and really participating. I think it's clear we all share your concerns. It's a never-ending task for us up here. I want to cover a couple of quick things that I think aren't on this report. And one is, I think, certainly when I walked in the building a couple of years ago, I felt like staff looked at unique situational approaches to things and individual sites, intersection, we were piecemealing a city together. And I look at the things like the CSAP and the local roadway projects and the other projects, and I look at the circulation element coming back, and with the partnership of Councilmember Schaefer really pushing that circulation element to come back, we see this more holistic plan coming together, and it's a compliment to staff on their hard work on it. And while we do address situational pieces in there, the city's approach has become more systemic and looking at the whole picture. And within that, the goal is 0 deaths. The goal is always 0 deaths to our ability. It's a shared responsibility between the government and the public. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and just like anyone else here, I don't live on a busy street, a main arterial in the city, because I don't want my daughter playing on a busy street. I want her to be able to go out and play in the middle of the street like you see in movies. Even within that, I live on a quiet street. She has to go 400 yards up the street so that she can see any car that comes around the corner and they can say, game on, and hop off. When she crosses our street, I yell out the kitchen window, look both ways. It's never ending. It's a shared responsibility between everybody using the road. And we all realize that up here, and we're all working to move forward with that, whether it's pedestrians, cyclists, vehicles, and how they all interact together. And that's never missed up here by anybody up here. Staff has really bought into this idea and done a fantastic job with it. City manager's office has really done a great job on it. And I want to touch on the unique situation site that is also the second piece that isn't in there, is we're meeting on site more often than ever before, whether it's a council member, whether it's a city manager, whether it's the staff. And I can look at an example of, a great example of that is at the YMCA, where we're replacing those chicanes with stop signs. We met with the YMCA, Seacrest, a number of the neighbors. Staff was out there, the city manager was out there, myself, and we watched a failed infrastructure piece. These chicanes, we watched cars, we watched an NCTD bus, I'm ashamed to say it, drive right over it. Like it wasn't even there. So infrastructure is great, but we want to go back and make sure it works. And I'm really glad, and you didn't put it on the report, but I think you should have. Like, you're out there checking in on the projects that you're doing. Do they work with us? And listening to the residents on that. And I think that's a huge step in the right direction for all of the stuff we've talked about today. So, as a result, we're taking the chicanes out. With the help of the YMCA, we came together to put up a stop. We're going to be putting in a stop sign, and we'll go back and we'll check and see how that's working. Pedestrian island in there, everything. So I think that's something, I'm sure you didn't want to toot your own horn, but I'm going to toot it for you. I think I really appreciate that the staff is going in that direction with all of these safety measures and listening to our residents and what they're having to say. I think, I think those ideas, signal timing, dilemma zones, bike boxes, bike markings, ped crossing enhancements, I think you're referring to the CSAP, which is on here, and I'm really happy that we're doing it. I know that staff will bring all of those back to us as urgently as possible. Obviously, that's why we're here, because these things are a top priority in the city. So as they come back, I'll please keep bringing them back as quickly as possible, but I think you're already doing that, and I expect that to continue, so thank you. Up here mentioned several times was the city crossing guards. It was on the site. I'm going to reach out to a few people. We approved all 14. And I'm going to say all the people here who are coming here to talk about it, join me at a school board meeting and let's ask them if they can, instead of firing Larry, move him to some place that we have open this year or a site that's on this map. Rather than get rid of 3 or 4 good employees who are doing a great job and great service to the community, let's go to the school board and say, hey, city council is going to pay for this. We've already agreed to it. Let's reallocate these people. Let's not get rid of them. So if you want to join me in that, please send me an email. Let's talk about it. Let's do it. Let's go to the school board, ask why that happened, and let's make sure that's still going forward, because we're all working together, the schools, the residents, and us, and we want to make that happen. So I think that's an important question. It's worth mentioning. It's great that there's a GoFundMe for Larry the Crossing Guard. I hope they make it. He seems to be a great guy and attribute to the community. Whether it's political or not, doesn't matter. He's a great guy. But let's get him his job back. Let's do it. So I would push for that. I'll give another quick story. I visited my dad this year in his town, which is a pretty small town. Country roads, not a pedestrian in sight, probably not a cyclist in sight. Just the roads you want to have, fast rental car and hit the gas and go down. Speed limits are all 30 miles an hour. Everyone goes 29. And you won't find anybody speeding. Do you know how the city pays its taxes? Tickets. You go 31 miles an hour, and we're watching sirens in the back window pulling you over. As much as we don't want to become enforcement centric, it it makes a difference. We just have to, the reality of it is it makes a big difference. I absolutely support adding the 2 deputies, or looking for what the needs are, what we can afford, when we can afford them, and moving forward. And really, I know that our sheriff's department is very responsible in telling us what their needs are, and we're dedicated to making sure that those needs are there so you can do your job effectively. So I fully support the mayor's idea on that. I think that's really great. I would like to add, I'd like to see us approach other cities and the county, because I think the county is a big part of this, to have a real healthy discussion about entry points within the city. Because what I've heard a lot of times up here from our people who've come up, Michael Duranci's mentioned it, people come up and they're entering the city quick. And how do we address that? And I think that's something we have to partner with. And I don't know if that'll happen overnight, but we got to start the conversation. So let's start the conversation. Let's be the ones who start it. So I'm going to look to the mayor to help. Let's craft something together to go to the other mayors, the county supervisor, and let's write a letter that says, hey, we want to get going on this and see what they want to do. Lastly, I think we try to silo issues up here a lot of times, and it's natural. It happens because you're talking about a very specific project or a very specific outcome. And I want to implore everybody up here who is here because they're upset about traffic and traffic measures and traffic safety. It's not just traffic safety. It's a multitude of issues. I urge you to find out, ask the state, hey, this housing mandate is creating a dangerous situation in our city. Why? What are we doing? What are we trying to do? Get involved in the other issues. E-bikes, we just spent an hour and a half last time talking about e-bikes and the management of it and the challenges of it. Get involved in the e-bike conversation. There are multiple layers of any discussion we have up here, and I'm only hitting those because we're talking about traffic today. But there's multiple areas we can go to, and rather than silo everything, let's realize everything is interconnected. And look at it. That's the way I know council looks at it from all 5 of us up here, city manager office and our staff are trying to work things interconnectedly in that holistic approach. But I think that's part of where we have to go and look at those questions. Otherwise, they become too simple and they become black and white, and these are not black and white issues. These are very gray issues of how do we get the best outcome. Some of it is the responsibility, as you're hearing, the responsibility of the driver. Some of it is the responsibility of the pedestrian. Some of it is the infrastructure. And we want to address all that the best we can. I think, just to reiterate, the e-bike discussion did include a large portion of education. I know the city, and this also wasn't in there, the city's going to move forward with some educational pieces, and I'm sure that all traffic modalities will be included in that educational piece that came out of the e-bike conversation. So this job will never end, and we won't rest until we get as safe a city as we can possibly get. And the safest city will be with the least possible deaths we can get across the way. If it's 0, great. If it's 1, great. We want it to be as close to 0 as we can get it, though, and we're always going to be moving forward. And even when we think we've got it right, we're all committed to moving forward. That's staff, city manager's department, as well as our council. I'm sure any future council, whether it's 4 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it's always going to be, you don't sit in these seats and hear the things we hear and talk to the residents every day and not prioritize this. So I'm really grateful everybody came up here. Hopefully you feel all the shared concerns that we have with all of you. I think I want to compliment staff, sheriff's department, and the city manager's office for really acting. Obviously, this is bad pun, a long road ahead still, and we're going to keep going. So thank you to everybody for participating. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Okay. So I think I've got a couple of actions that I've heard, specific actions. Number one is to agendize the, certainly within the framework of the circulation element goals and policies, coming back and going through the recommendations in the local road safety plan and the comprehensive safety action plans, because they're slightly different, and one's more focused on a handful of streets. The comprehensive plan really only looks at the major streets. And I did have one question for Councilmember Lyons. The $200,000, is that in the comprehensive safety action plan? I didn't see that in there.
No, it's in the local road safety plan.
Okay.
I did not. Yeah, it's page 45.
Okay, page 45. And so I think there's going to be more detailed directives coming out of there. You know, one thing that I'm looking for, and I think it came up tonight multiple times, is the RRFBs and how can we make them safer? Because quite frankly, I'm not sure. I've seen examples where I think we even talked to others talked about it. People don't necessarily stop for them. They're not sure what to do on a flashing yellow. So, but there is actually in the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, there is a implementation strategy 3.2. I'm sorry, there was one in there that talks about this. It also talks about increased use of speed signs, and so this as I open this up, this is a multivariable. There are quite a few different moving objects or moving tasks moving forward. And we're not slowing any others down. In other words, red light cameras, that'll be agendized. We have quite a few others occurring, and we will continue forward. But so agendizing the LRSP and CSAP, and then also work with the city manager and sheriff on, I'll say, the need, the logistics, and the funding for additional. This is a multivariable. There are quite a few different. What is going on now? Welcome to the new world of SB 707, where we're broadcasting. Others down. In other words, red light cameras. That'll be agendized. Can we? You're a robot, Bruce. You guys had to hear me once. Now you got to hear me twice. So sorry. I always tell people, you know, the best IT can hope for is nobody complaining. That's the pinnacle of performance. So, but hopefully Warren's got me quieted down. My AI agent over there speaking for me. I'm going to go back. Number 2 was work with city manager and sheriff on the need, logistics, and funding for an additional 2 traffic deputies, likely at mid-year budget would be my guess. So, and then the thing we didn't talk about much, although people mentioned it, is continue pushing the education. I went to the sheriff's meeting with the city, the session. I thought it was excellent. I'd like to see it repeated. I'd like to see it videotaped and add that as yet another education component. So I think those are the 3 actions out of this meeting, and I'm sure there'll be more in short order.
I would add for the circulation element, having a safe travel lanes for the bikes, something of that nature, just a proposed, so we can have something to start with and go.
Or do you? I would do that right in with the LRSP Comprehensive Safety Action Plan at that meeting, and we'll bring it up there. And if we need to separate it out as a circulation element,
as long as it comes back soon.
But my plan was during that meeting to do everything within the framework and understand, do we need to update any policies in the current circulation element?
Okay.
Yeah. Did you want to? Okay. City manager.
Yes, thank you. All right, so I'm just going to recap if that is the motion that goes forward. So I will work with staff. Obviously, the local road safety plan was adopted back in August of 2022. The Comprehensive Safety Action Plan was completed. It was brought to, I want to say, the Mobility and Traffic Safety Commission in either April or May of 2025. Okay, yep. I got my dates right. Dan is signaling me. So obviously one has been done and adopted. Another one has not been adopted by council but has been finished. So we will definitely bring those forward so council can see those. And then depending on what comes out of that, we may have different asks because we did have consultants work on both of those to let you know. I can definitely work with Captain Watts and my finance team to look at different financing. And yes, Mayor, it would be mid-year because we need to get through our audit as we normally do, and end of the year. So we can do that. And then as far as education, absolutely. And one of the things is we have additional funding to work on bike education. The MOUs with the schools, they did not take the money. They didn't want to pursue the MOUs, so we do have additional funding. So we are going to use that for whether it's driver education, bike education, absolutely. We're going to use that for that good as well. So I just wanted to circle that up if you guys make that motion.
Okay. So I'll make that in the form of a motion, and
second.
I got a second. Do you need to read it back? I think.
So it's to agendize at a future meeting to be determined, as I thought I heard around October if possible.
Yeah, as soon as possible.
As soon as possible. The LSRP and the CSAP to look at where we're at and new opportunities with that. Also to work, city manager to work with the sheriff's department to explore the feasibility of adding 2 deputies at the mid-year budget.
Yeah, the need.
The need.
The logistics and funding.
And funding, okay. And then also to include an educational component to that.
Yeah, including at a minimum the repeating the city and sheriff co-sponsored event, and maybe even videotaping it so it's available to be spread far and wide.
Can I add?
Yeah.
Amendment to, can we include writing a letter to approach other cities in the county to discuss entry points?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll include that as well.
Okay, so those are that's the motion, and the second, call the question.
That motion carries unanimously.
Cool. And with that, we are adjourned until 25 after, or do we want to go to, I know you guys, we'll go till 6:30, so we'll come back at 6:30, sharp.
Thank you. I just wanted to recap that, sir.
Absolutely.
I'll work with staff and I'll work with you on timing.
Okay, yeah, I understand. That's why I didn't want to do it